What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the VeVe Vantage Podcast. Man, this interview is something, and you guys are really in it for a treat because right after we finished recording this particular interview with specimen collector Erik, his username is Erikleviking on the app. I and Mr. V spoke about it, and we felt like this is very, very special. Like, we are so lucky and so grateful to be able to meet these people and talk to them and hear their stories. Very, very incredible stories. Our guest today, Erikleviking. These are some topics, some very juicy, spicy topics that we talked about. First, he bought the Luke Skywalker Lightsaber, FA mint 1977. And then later on, he flipped it for close to 4,000 gems. Cryptos and Comics bought it. Sean bought it. Great purchase and great sales for Erik, because Erik is a huge Batman fan. So he was able to use that profit, a huge amount of profit, to purchase, to acquire his mint 80 Todd McFarlane Batman number 100, the Todd Batman Black and White, which is the 80th collectible / NFT ever minted on VeVe, a very special collectible. And he also talked about his almost complete set of Batman Black and White on VeVe, all of them being sub 100 mint, how he has over 100 sub 100 mint collectibles and another 1,000 NFTs on the app. This interview is very interesting because we actually had to reschedule it a few times. It took us maybe 2 or 3 weeks to get this up and running, simply because we wanted to make sure that we can record it when Erik is at home, because he has a very cool collections of car models and especially, again, Batman. And man, he did not disappoint. I will say that was definitely one of the main highlights of this interview. This is an interview that was super easy for us to do because we barely had to ask any question. Erik is so passionate about collecting, about VeVe. He brought all the content to this interview. He prepared everything, and it was just so enjoyable. I guarantee you will enjoy it too. Let's get to it. Erik, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. We have been following you and especially your journey to collect your very special mint 1985. And I just discovered a few days ago that you have a pretty insane collection. I think you have close to 100 double-digit mints, and that's in addition to like another 1,000 collectibles and some hundreds comics. So thank you so much for being here with us, and we are super grateful to have you with us today.
Thank you. Hi, Will. Hi, Mr. V. I don't know your real name for now. Maybe I'll know later.
Sure, for sure.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks to have me. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey with VeVe, and we're going to talk about it. And I hope it's going to continue on the long term, having amazing discussions, meet people in real life like I did in London 2022. That was probably the moment when I said, okay, I'm here to stay.
That's awesome. So before we even get started with the questions, I know that you really like your mint, which is the 1985 in particular, and some other mints too. Today, the Hulk comic drop just happened. Our co-host, Mr. V, just missed his drop, and he's not feeling great about it. Do you have any advice for him to deal with these emotional roller coasters of, you know, getting the mint and missing it and those kind of things?
Yeah, for me, it's, as I wrote to you guys, to have the highs and to feel that kick of dopamine when you hit your drop or when you finally get your mint or whatever it is. You need those lows, and that's the only way you can enjoy those highs. And that's going to be probably for every collector, it's going to be like that. And that's why we love the hunt so much. And that's why I checked the other day preparing for the interview. I said, okay, why do we collect? Because that was like a main question, because I used to collect basketball cards when I was a kid. And then for almost 20 years, I did nothing, like no collecting, nothing. I had to work. I have to spend time with my girlfriend and then my wife. And so I had no time, and I was not really into it anymore. So in my head, I was not a collector anymore. And then it seems that there is something with collecting, and it could be sentimental, could be to feel emotional about something. And I read about those articles, and it seems that humans have ever been collecting things: seashells, coins, girlfriends eventually,
kids, children.
So yeah, it seems that it's really part of us. And I would probably say that our friends that are not collectors, it's probably because they haven't found yet something to collect. But probably everybody can find something to collect if they just spend 5 minutes to think about it and start. Because it's when you start that suddenly you feel the highs, you feel the lows, and that's what's great. And when you finally hit your mint, you feel awesome. And that's probably why we get so addicted. And I think the only purpose in life is to feel good and feel great. It could be with our family, it could be with our friends. And sometimes when we cannot see our friends anymore because of COVID, or now I'm too busy with my 3 kids and work and everything, suddenly I found a new way to enjoy life when my kids are sleeping and my wife is too tired. And suddenly I'm there, and I met some great persons and friends on Twitter thanks to VeVe. And yeah, it feels like when you're like me, a little bit over 40 years old, you don't party anymore. You don't have time for that. You don't really see friends anymore. You don't really have time for that. And suddenly VeVe and some other communities that I'm part of, but much less like the Bat Cows or other communities, it feels great to be able to talk about things you like. And for that, you have to accept the lows.
Yeah, it's a loaded situation, right? And I agree with you 100%. That's how we know we're alive, really. Like, we have some of the best moments in our lives, and we can have some terrible ones. But if it's always great, then we can't really appreciate those great moments.
Yeah, I was lucky to be, for example, in a private school when I was younger, with friends that were so rich they didn't even understood they were so rich, pretty much. And probably already 1 or 2 died because of drugs, and maybe others did nothing with their lives. And it's just that when you only have what you want, you don't appreciate it anymore. So I'm pretty sure the next drop that will hit at your mint, the kick of dopamine will be so high that you won't be able to sleep anymore.
Yeah, I don't sleep that much anyways, between me and my kids and all that stuff. So, but you know, speaking of which, speaking of VeVe, I was very interested in your username.
Yeah.
It's Erik. Is it Le Viking?
Le Viking, yeah, in French. Yeah, it means Erik the Viking, pretty much.
Okay.
Wow.
So I have to ask, and I had to do a little research about it. Does this mean that your ancestors are Scandinavian?
Yeah, my mother is Swedish.
Okay.
And I was born in Switzerland.
Oh, fantastic.
And for my friends in the US, Switzerland and Sweden are not the same country. We joke about that because in the past we usually had some jokes like we know that Switzerland we do chocolates and watches, and when I said to American people I was from Sweden, they say, "Oh, you have some nice chocolate and watches." I said,
Totally different country. Yeah.
So yeah, Swedish and Swiss, and my mom is blonde with blue eyes, and Sweden is probably the country I feel the most close with, because I spend probably all my summers in Sweden, and then I live in Switzerland. So yeah, for my college degree, is it college? I don't remember the name in English. I had to prepare like a document about something historic, and I spent probably 6 months study Vikings.
Wow.
Whole Viking and whole the Viking history and mythology and everything. But that was like 25 years ago. But it's pretty deep. So that's why I love Thor and Odin and all those guys on VeVe, and voila.
That's awesome. I do drive a Saab. I have a convertible Saab. That is a beast because it has, I think, front wheel drive. So I live in New England, which is the northeast area of the US. And it's pretty cold, and it snows most of the, well, it snows from maybe December, January to late March. And the first year I had my convertible Saab, the car doesn't have all-wheel drive. It doesn't have winter tires, but it is so good. Like, it is so reliable. It is so much to drive.
Is it the 900 SE?
I got my car is a Saab 9.3.
Okay. So it's more recent.
Yeah, it's 2007. It has turbo, so it's extremely fun.
I remember my uncle being on the highways in Belgium when he was an ambassador, and he had it was in the 80s, and he had like the latest model of Saab 900, and he was doing like more than 200 kilometers an hour on the highway with me sitting next to him. And he told me a crazy story about him going to France and driving very fast, and he got caught by the police at more than 200 kilometers an hour. But that was like 40 years ago.
Wow.
And the guests say, why did you drive so fast? He said, oh, because he was very intelligent. So he knew French people at that time didn't like so much the German people. So he said, oh, that guy with his Mercedes was behind me and everything. So I just wanted to show him and shut him up. So I drove past him and had to drive a bit fast. And the French policeman said, okay, I understand. You can go.
That's awesome.
Brilliant.
That's really cool.
Why I love cars, and I'm very happy that VeVe has some cars now on the app. And I bought a nice collection of those ones. So yeah, I'm happy with those ones.
So I guess a follow-up to your comment right there. I also noticed that you had a wonderful collection of the digital cars. And you said that you're a fan of them. What kind of brands are you interested in? Do you go to car shows? Do you collect?
Yeah, we are lucky in Switzerland to have a very big car show, probably one of the best in Europe, very close by to where I live. So I used to go there every year, and then I brought my son, and I was able to, like in 2014, I was able to buy a nice car and share it with a friend, because it's too expensive to have a very nice car by yourself. Like, you pay too many fees, and you have to think about a little bit your family, how much you can spend. But I was able to buy a nice Maserati. And share that with a friend. For many years, we had amazing moments. And when you split the bill by two, everything is awesome. And if you do your homework, like you could do your homework on VeVe, at the end, you don't lose too much money, because you know the market, you know how much you can put, how many miles on it you can put, and then you try to select the good ones, like the good mints or the good FAs on VeVe, and you do the same thing with cars. And at the end, you don't lose too much. So I was able to have a few years with this car. And last year, unfortunately, I had to say goodbye to it because I had to do a repair that was a bit too expensive. So I said, okay, let's sell it. And now that I have 3 kids, I cannot even drive it anymore. So I said, okay, let's use that money on VeVe.
All right.
So I took the cash of the Maserati, but it was an old one, so I had like thousands and thousands of dollars, but I had a pretty good amount, and it was in September 2022, so we were already in the bear market. So I had some cash to do some nice buys on VeVe, and now I'm just expecting Ferrari to come, because I was lucky enough to share a Ferrari as well. So
Whoa, that's awesome, man.
I expect Ferrari to come, and Aston Martin, even like we have already Aston Martin, but I would like to have the DBS. That would be amazing, because I have a little tiny collection of small cars back there. I can show you later if you want.
Yeah.
And this morning I was with my kid waiting for a doctor's appointment, and we had I don't know how you say that in English, when you can buy things on the street, where people come with their trucks and they put things on the street, and you can buy some toys, or
it's like a flea market, right, Mr.
Yeah,
V?
something like that.
Yeah.
So I was very happy to find two small old Ferraris this morning, like $10 each, but it made me very happy because you don't find them anymore. So that was the little high of this morning.
That's
and for
amazing.
$10 each. So that was okay.
That's amazing that you're able to share that collecting hobby with your sons, your kids so early. Because I know
it's very important. It's very important because now that my son will grow, he's 7, probably in a few years he won't want me to be with him anymore. But if I'm able to build a few things that we have together, could be anything. We do sport together. We read Dragon Ball Z every night together. So I'm trying to share the passion I had when I was a kid, and it was reignited with VeVe. And now I try to share that with him. So now every night he say, "Okay, Papa, it's DBZ time. Let's read the book." And then with the cars and everything, so he can see my passion for it. So probably he'll be happy to do something, maybe not the same thing I did, but maybe something similar. And maybe he will want to keep a few things that I have now today, just as a memory or sentimental value or something. So yeah, I think it's important to have a few things like that even when he will grow up and doesn't want to see me anymore so much, maybe he'll have a few things to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going through a pretty big decision myself. I used to collect guitars. I had like 7 or 8 at one point, and I was thinking like it's difficult to maintain them because they're expensive to maintain. It's the same thing with with comics. I understand that you have to have what is it, the temperature and the humidity, or the humidity in the room has to be right so that they don't age, or I don't know how you put it. But then I realized I had too many guitars, and then I had to and I could not maintain them because it was getting a little bit too expensive, and I wasn't using them all that much ever since becoming a parent. Just kind of like you were mentioning before this interview, that some things have to go off to the side as our responsibilities get greater and greater. And it's not a bad thing, but I understand what you're saying. It's like hoping that you can share those passions with your kids, and hopefully they have that there's something left over for them to be able to carry with them as they move on in their lives.
Even if my son does not want any of my stuff, because he's going to tell me in maybe 10 years or 20 years, "Dad, that was shit what you had. You want it." But at least I start young. I try to create those moments together, and maybe even if he does not like anymore DBZ in 20 years, or my little cars, or my Batmans, or whatever I have, at least I would say that probably when he's going to see them, maybe in the street or in a movie, or he'll have something in his mind said, "Oh, this I did with my father. Oh, this I remember." So I try to have something like that, because if you just do it on your side, like you are a collector, but you just do it for yourself, my wife is not really interested, so she doesn't care at all. So if I don't start to share it a little bit with my kids, and I do it only with you guys and the VeVe fam and maybe one or two friends, my son will not understand why I like it so much. So I think if I start early, and it takes probably 20 minutes a day, not even, just to read the book, and he saw me buy those cars today and things like that, I think something will be there in a few years.
Absolutely. That's an education. I spent like over a decade in education, and it's called a shared experience. And when there's a shared experience, that's when there's a lot of growth that can happen between all the people who have that similar experience, and it sticks with them a lot longer. They internalize it much better.
Because if I don't do it, I cannot expect him to like my Batmans and my VeVe collectibles in 10 years. But if I start now and I play AR with my collectibles and I'll show him a few things, probably something will be there.
Yeah. So how did you get started with VeVe? Can you tell us a little bit about your VeVe journey / story?
Yeah. The thing is that before April 2021, when I started on VeVe, I didn't collect much because I had that gap between when I was 14, 15, having basketball cards, and then almost 20 years later, no, even more than 20 years later, discovered VeVe. So I was into crypto, and that's how I discovered VeVe, through Omi, pretty much.
Yeah, same here.
But yeah, because I was in crypto. I've been looking at crypto since 2014, but was not intelligent enough to invest in 2014. So I just missed the train. And then I went pretty heavy in 2018 and 19, and then enjoyed the ride a little bit, was able to sell things, and not everything. Like, you never say sell everything at the ATH, but I was able to put money aside and things like that. So, and during that time, NFTs started in 2020, didn't not really understand. And then, so Omi was going to do Batmans, like pretty much VeVe was going to do the release of Batmans. And I said, oh my God, I love Batman. This is something I can understand, you know? So I said, okay, those NFTs, the Bored Apes, the CryptoPunks, difficult to really understand. But Batman, I can relate. I like to watch a movie. I like to have my son enjoying a Batman suit or whatever. So I said, okay, that would be nice. So I went there and I saw, I think they were not in the store anymore, those Batmans, but they were like, for me at that time, they were like $100, $200, something like that. I don't remember. I said, oh, that's a little bit expensive. I don't know if it's going to really work. So I said, okay, what's the cheapest thing I could buy just to put my toe in the water and try to just understand what's going on? And I bought the DeLorean for like 29 gems or something like that. And I showed it, took a few AR picture, put it on Facebook, had only one like pretty much. I don't know exactly, but that was fun. I was happy. It was not expensive. And that was in April. And between April and pretty much September, I didn't buy, I think, anything. So because I didn't really realize that the edition number, I had no idea. Because as I told you, when I was collecting basketball cards, I was very young. And I don't even know if we had edition numbers, special numbers, anything like that. I just wanted to have Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, and that's how I collected at that time. So I was not aware of FAs and FEs and mint numbers and anything like that. So I discovered that with VeVe. So my DeLorean, I bought the cheapest one I could find in the secondary market. I didn't even look at the numbers. And then in September, suddenly it clicked because I went on VeVe time to time. I tried to see how the market was moving. And I said, okay, now the Batman I could have bought for maybe 80 is now 500. So I said, okay, I missed something here. And then I started to go a bit more into it in probably September 2021. And then, as you know, we had the crazy part from December to February, pretty much. So I went pretty heavy as well. Didn't sell anything, probably sold a few things, but reinvested it directly into other things that I liked. So I almost sold a Superman for 10,000 gems, but it stopped right before that. But I know if I had sold my Superman at that price, I would have bought something else. So it was just the mood we were in. So I think being in crypto since 2014 and seeing those cycles, when I saw then the huge bear market we had, I said, okay, been there before. So I said, okay, the best decision I took in 2018 was not to 2018-19 was not to sell anything, even with the COVID crisis, when we went very deep with Bitcoins and those other cryptos. I said, okay, just leave it on the ledger. I believe in it. Don't look at it. Have your life, and then you'll see when it recovers one day. And that's what happened with crypto. So I said, I really believe in the VeVe way to put things together. And as I think I mentioned a few minutes ago, when I went to London DCON 2022, that's really when things clicked in.
How so? Can you elaborate on that?
You have to, if you haven't been, you have to go to one of those events. You can go. I was alone. I took my ticket from Switzerland, went to London by myself, knowing nobody. I arrived to DCON, and in 5 minutes, I had like 10 friends.
Wow.
And then I spent the whole weekend with Taps, VeVe Magic, and those guys, and was able to meet more than I expected David and Dan and the whole team, because I was like a little kid when I saw David and Dan at the conference. I said, I have to see them at least 5 seconds. I had brought my Todd that I bought, the physical one. I had it in my backpack, and I had them sign it. So it was amazing. But little did I know that I was going to spend 4 hours in the after party with them after. So, so you have to go there, because even if you have to go alone, you will not be alone. It's really amazing. You just have to start the conversation and say, when did you start on VeVe? And then that's it. And then you have like 10 friends in 5 minutes. And there is no bad mood, any real competition. It's really just a family. Like we were in London in September, we were already pretty deep in the bear market. And at the after party, I don't know how many we were, maybe 50, 100 people, something like that. Everybody was smiling. Everybody had probably 95% losses on their...
Yeah.
But everybody was smiling. It was amazing. Really, the feeling of seeing your vault being so down, but everybody smiling, I said, okay, that's it. That's it. I've never felt that before. I've never seen that before. In crypto, when you're 95% down, nobody talks about it. Nobody smiles.
Nobody even showed up,
No, you don't show up. You don't feel good. You said you did the biggest mistake of your life. And there, maybe you did the biggest mistake of your life. Maybe it will never recover at those prices you bought or whatever. But at the same time, the whole journey has been amazing. Like if I had to say, okay, tomorrow my vault is 0, like 0, or VeVe goes bankrupt and there is a hack, so nobody can recover any NFTs or whatever, I would say, okay, it was a fun ride. It's okay. It's like being in a casino for 2 years. At the end, you probably don't expect to win, but you had quite a nice moment.
Hey guys, just a quick message. Every week, I, Mr. V, work over 20 hours to bring you the most non-BS VeVe content. English is my second language, and there were nights we recorded until 1 a.m. My brain stopped processing, and I naturally spoke Vietnamese to him, and it got pretty weird. But that's just how dedicated we are to this podcast. In return, we ask you to enter a gentleman agreement. We will continue working until 1 a.m. for you, but we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, leave us a rating, and tweet at us to tell us what you think, because those comments will ultimately help us to refine the content just for you. That's it. That's all you need to do. Let's get back to it.
Right. So yeah, that's something that I hope to be able to experience one day, just like you got to. I know Will has yet to go to a VeVe hosted event as well, or an event that VeVe goes to.
Yeah.
So with all this time that you've been spending on VeVe, thinking back a little bit to how the drops were going for you in your region of the world, how would you compare it from before to now? Did you experience any frustration when you were going for drops before the
Yeah,
wait?
it was almost impossible to get something unless you were really, really lucky or really, really good at clicking on the button. At least for the difficult drops, like even in the bear, I'm not talking about December, January and February 2022 there. That was just impossible. But even like for the big comics or AF15 in August last year, or even those big drops in the bear market, almost impossible to get something in Europe.
But now it's possible because you
And
landed
now
the Hulk comic.
I did hit Hulk #1.
Great.
Congrats.
So what rarity did you get?
I got the common.
Okay.
So sold it right away to have some gems, and then I bought 4 comics today, and I did find my 1985 common. I had to pay quite a premium for that, but that's okay. That's the way it is.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes, but not too bad. It wasn't horrible.
No, I would say that when I go for a sub 100 collectible or a special mint comic, depending of which collectible and which comic it is, I accept to pay probably 2 times to max 5 times the floor for a special mint or a sub 100, at least in this bear market, because I can remember, and that's why I went for those sub 100 quite a lot in the past 6 months. It's because I remember in the bull market, those sub 100s were impossible to get, like impossible. And you had to pay like 10 times the floor to get a sub 100. And at those prices then, 10 times the floor was quite a heavy lift. So like a Todd sub 100 was probably like 50 grand, even more. Yeah. So they were impossible to get. So when I was there looking at those sub 200, sub 100 Todds or other ones I wanted, I said, okay, I'm never going to get one of those. And thanks to the bear market, I got a lot now. So it's something that those sub 100s I like for many reasons. One, for me, it's to prove to the VeVe fam and the community, and maybe even Dan and David and those guys, that I'm here to stay. Because when you buy a sub 100, you usually don't plan to flip it right away because the liquidity is not there. So the chance of flipping it quickly, it's almost zero. So when you buy those ones, it's just to say, okay, I understand what you've created. I love it. I want to be here for the long term. And you can count on me. And I'm not going to sell them soon. And even my Todd number 80, he will die with me. So this one, maybe my son will sell it, but I won't sell it. I have enough collectibles and sub 100 to sell that I can keep this one forever. So don't count on this one to be ever on the market. And as I have the blue Todd as well, don't forget those two. Huh?
Those are gone.
So and for sure, it is a flex for me to show those sub 100, but it was not, I would say, the main reason. The main reason is really to say, okay, those ones, when I buy a sub 100, it's for my collection. I want to be part of that journey. Maybe it's a leverage on a future sell, because if today a sub 100 sells for 2 to 5 times the floor, maybe in 2-3 years, if VeVe succeeds, maybe it's going to sell for 10 times the floor. Because we know that if VeVe succeed, the real collectors, they want the best of the best. And in VeVe, it's not easy to decide what's the best of the best. Is it a special mint? Is it a low mint? Is it a last mint? Is it a specific mint like Mr. V has? Nobody knows for the moment. It's so emotional, so time will tell. But it could be a leverage play as well, because I don't need to keep all those sub 100s. There are some that I don't want to sell. Like I have almost completed the whole black and white sub 100 collection. I'm not there yet. I'm still missing 3 pieces, because the last Batman Frank Miller is impossible to get. They are still in the store. Yeah. So yeah, those sub 100s, they feel pretty special, easy, recognizable. When somebody shows a sub 100, you can tell he's a collector pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, just before we move forward, just letting you guys know, my kid is awake, and so he might be making some loud noises. He might try and get my attention, so I'm going to mute my mic. I don't want to be rude, so I'm going to mute my mic, and when I know that he's not going to interrupt the conversation, I may unmute here and there.
No worries. I fully understand.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's get back at it. Erik, why don't we continue with your sub 100 mint story? You can take it from here, or we can hop in with some questions as well. I know you have you have a story about the sub 100 mint.
Yeah, it's not really a story, but it's more about what NFTs and digital collectibles in general were able to bring to the table in the digital world. Because, for example, I'm not really into Instagram and those things. Just for my job, I show a few things on Instagram, but whatever they do, those kids or young adults, and show and pretend and everything feels so fake for me that I'm not interested. So what VeVe was able to do that I feel is really amazing, and all those other NFTs communities the same, is that you can prove digitally that you're part of a community, or you believe in something, or that you own something that you really say you have. It's like the opposite of Instagram, when you see those guys, those girls in front of a Lambo, or traveling around the world, or having nice clothes or whatever. You never know if it's real or fake. You cannot trust them. It feels so fake. So here on VeVe, and with those sub 100s, everybody can have a look and see if I'm really the owner of that sub 100 or not. Am I faking it or not? And that is, for me, the trust that suddenly you can have digitally that we had physically before. When I met my friends when I was a teenager and they had those Michael Jordan cards, they could show it to me, and I was jealous, and they were not faking it and things like that. And here it's the same thing. If I want to be on VeVe and to talk to somebody, I can trust what he says. He's not going to try to scam me or trying to pretend to be my friend when he does not care at all, because he has no collectibles at all, and he's just taking JPEGs on his phone and show them to me. No, I can, if I want, I can check. If he wants to be part of a special Walt Disney club or Partner Start You club or whatever, you can prove it. You can be part of that community. Prove that you want to be there, that you spend the time and the money to be there. And that for me is awesome. So maybe one day there will be like a sub 100 club. Maybe not. If there is not, I don't care. But if there is, why not? I want to be part of it. And if there is a special mint collectors club as well, Why not? So I just think it's awesome to digitally trust somebody.
Yeah.
And that's for me, it's awesome.
Yeah, because when I as an interviewer, when I look for potential guests, I know what Mr. V has, I know what you have, and I know what other guests has. So it's super easy for me to do the background check to know who you are, what you're into, and everything is there. Everything is authenticated. And
Yeah.
it makes it a lot easier for me because, for example, for you, you have a lot of the Batman black and white, especially even more special. They are like the low or the sub 100 mint. So I know that you are into it. So, you know, potentially for me, I can create the structure of this interview so that it fits your hobby or your fandom of Batman. Yeah, I mean, and then in the future too, when we have the Weverse, you'll be able to connect with others collectors who are into Batman as well, or sub 100 mint. So that's a lot of things that you can do with it, you know, with all these authentication coming from NFT and especially the blockchain. And one of my favorite collectibles that you have is the Todd Batman number 100 mint 80. So that is very special because that is the 80th NFT ever minted on VeVe. And then you also have the
Are
blue
we
shot.
sure of that? I wanted to talk to you guys because I'm not really good with tech, and I don't even care if it was the 80th NFT created on VeVe. I don't care. I just like that number 8. That number 8 is my number, and I know I could not have that 0008 mint, so I went to the closest thing possible, and I had to wait months and months and negotiate it and wait for the right moment, find the money and everything to get it. So it was quite a journey to get this one, with some nice anecdotes. We can talk about it if you want. But now I have a question for you guys. If you know those, let's say that number 80 Todd I have, do we really know that it's the 80th Todd minted on GoChain, or how does it work?
I actually got into a lot of conversations with few amount of people, but my understanding is that the very first collectible ever minted for VeVe on GoChain was I think it was the Sam Wilson Marvel Mighty.
Okay.
However, when they were dropped, that was the timing was different, right? So like that may have been the very first collectible produced by VeVe on the GoChain. However, when they were actually dropped, and I guess I may be misrepresenting the terms, the concepts here, but Todd was the first collectible to be released on VeVe, right? The first.
And when they were released on VeVe, were they released as a batch, like everything at the same time, or like we know if the number 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 just came the ones after the other? Do we know that?
Yeah, my understanding is that pre-IMX, pre-immutable X, everything that was produced on GoChain was in fact created in that order, in that sequence. Okay. But when we switched over to immutable X, that's when they were released in batches. Okay. It was random batches. And then I do know that there are some purists out there, and I even dug pretty deep into that to see which collectibles were actually, like which batch of 10 or 8 were the first ones to be created. And you could actually see the number on chain to see.
But then they had to be reminted, huh? The ones on GoChain had to be reminted on the IMX, huh? That's right.
And that's still in process because it's not done in order, nor is it done collectible by collectible. It's still being done in random batches.
Yeah, okay. But all those Todds have been minted yet? Do we know that?
I have not checked. I have maybe 1 or 2 people I can
No,
speak to, and I can.
this is the tech part that I don't really care about. So
Same here. It will take forever to
yeah,
debate
and
it.
I can understand that some people are really into it. That's fine. Everyone has its own way to see things. I'm just happy to have my number 8. It was very special for me to have this one. I had a few anecdotes when I was a kid. It's crazy what that number 8. I don't know why it has followed me for years, and I'm not superstitious, but 2 times in my life, I found on the streets a card of a deck card, with the aces and jacks, and it was like years apart. Do you know what card I found in the streets?
Something with number 8 on it.
It was number 8, both times.
Wow.
One card in the streets. So I said, that's fucking weird. So I said, okay, number 8 is going to be my number. Lucky, unlucky number, I don't care. It's going to be my number. And now I try when I can to have those 8s. And I was born in the 80s. So that's why I have the number 1981. This is for me. And then I have my brother, 1985. And that's why I have most of the at least nowadays, most of the comics or digital collectibles I'm looking for, they normally have either 81 in it, 85 for the sub 100s, and 1981 and 1985 for when I can find them.
So that had me very that definitely caught my attention. When did you decide to commit to going after those mints? Because you did mention that after the bull run and things started to cool off a lot, that's when you started to backtrack a little bit and go for those sub 100s now that they were affordable. But at what point did you really say, I'm definitely going to go after these year mints that are meaningful to me?
It went little by little. It's the way it goes with usually with collecting. Yeah, when you see for the first time a 1981 Batman on the market, you say, "Oh, this one I can understand." I do sign my birthday date every other day, pretty much with this number. So this means something for me. So I bought one, and then probably I found another one, and I say, "Oh, I like this one too." And then you have like 2, 3, 4, 5, and you say, "Oh, that seems like a collection now."
And then you have to keep going.
And then
right?
you have to keep going, and it's an addiction. And the thing is that when you buy a collectible or a comic with a random mint and you are a collector, you don't feel that kick and that dopamine shot. But when you find the one you want, that's when you have your dose of drug in your blood. and that's the healthiest drug you could have in your body. It's that kick. And that kick, thanks to VeVe, maybe once or twice a week now, I have it, or maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. And then I have to fight for one for months, like that 1985 secret rare comic book of Thor, the Journey into Mystery 83.
Yeah.
I've been looking into that one for months and months. The guy was nice, but he knew what he had, so he didn't want to lower the price so much. And the floor was like high because it's a secret rare. So I said, okay, it was expensive. And then suddenly we had a little pump, the beginning of the month of June. So I was able to sell a few collectibles that I bought in the bear market and make a little bit of money with that. And suddenly I said, oh, that Luke SR Skywalker that I bought for a reasonable price is pretty expensive now. And I said, I like it, but I like more that So I said, okay. And then I was able to buy a few things like that. In the last months, I was able to buy that 1981 ultra rare Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. And I was not lucky because it's the birthday of the actor that is playing Darth Vader as well. So I said, oh my God, this one's going to be untouchable. and it was like 20K for months and months, and then it was 10K for months and months, and then suddenly the person became a bit more reasonable, and I said, maybe I can have it now. And I bought it. So in the last months, I was able to buy my Darth Vader 1981 and my brother, because he does not know I bought all those things for me and him. He has no idea. So it's purely sentimental value. So my brother will be 40 in 2 years. And if everything goes well, he will have a few collectibles with his birthday date on it for his 40th birthday.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
That's such a thoughtful gift that's taking you years to piece together. I mean,
and it's very sentimental. And even if I don't see my brother so much, we have a connection. And he likes to draw. He likes to read comics. He likes all that fantasy movies and things like that. So he loves those DBZ and Naruto and all those comics. So the other day, it was not the other day, it was a few months ago, but a little bit by looking into eBay, I said, oh, those American comic books, the original ones, they're expensive, almost too expensive to buy, and if they're graded and everything. So I said, is it possible to find the Dragon Ball first edition comic book in Japanese? And what did I discover? The first year Dragon Ball came into existence, the first edition was in 1985.
Wow.
So
that's so cool.
So I found it.
Hey, there you go.
Unreal.
The
That's
Japanese
awesome,
version.
man.
And inside you can see because I bought one for him and one for him.
That's the authentic version because you actually read from the right to the left too.
Yeah, so I have two of those. One for him that I will not open, and one for me, where somewhere you can see. Oh yeah, there it is. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but in Japanese, it's written 1985 somewhere here, I think.
Okay, I can see it. Yeah. So it has like September.
So that was a pure coincidence, and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna buy those ones."
It's meant to be, man.
And they are cheap if you compare with the American comics.
Yeah,
you have to let me know because that was like one of the my favorites growing up. Like I have the VHS tapes. Somewhere in my home here, where if you put the VHS tapes together, they make a big image.
Oh yeah. I have the same thing now with the Blu-ray with my son, so I'm all over it again. So you might like because I'm into VeVe. I have a few things in Batcals, but I have some other projects as well that probably nobody has heard of. But one really good artist that I met in Miami, because I went to the DCON conference last year in Miami, and he has an art gallery, and all the people that had his NFT could go for free for an after party in his gallery with champagne and everything. So I met the artist, and he created the Meta Eagle Club. So here I have one of his physical drawings. And he loves Dragon Ball Z. He loves everything that we love, he loves. And he's a great artist. And he created, maybe you saw those ones, there are eagles. But if you look here.
Wow.
Oh, it's like the Saiyan outfit.
Yeah, exactly. From Vegeta.
Yeah.
So he put his eagle head on. With the Scrouter, and he created 55 pieces, physical pieces of this one in the world, only 55. I fell in love with this one, so I bought it. And he didn't create those ones, the DBZ one are only physical, but he created some other eagles on OpenSea. He created some bulls and some bears, and voila. All those things that are worth almost zero now, but were worth quite a lot of money a year and a half ago. But voila, but that was a utility that was nice to have. You had that NFT of that artist, and you could go for free to the VIP party after that. So NFTs are here to stay, for what I can understand.
Do you mind showing us some of the physical collectibles you have in the background? Maybe like 2 or 3 pieces.
Let me bring the computer. It's gonna be easy.
Okay.
So maybe you recognize.
Yep.
The Becky Clooney.
Yeah.
Cloonan. And this one, I'm lucky enough to have the matching mint number with my NFT.
Wow. Was it by chance, or did you specifically look for it?
It's almost impossible to look for the physical that matches the digital. So I had to buy the physical and then match the digitally. I did the same with this one, the Maduera.
The Joe, yeah.
The Joe, and I have the same mint as well. Lucky me.
You have the Superman too, right?
Yeah, the Superman. But I've been looking in the last 12 months, and nobody puts on the market.
What's the mint?
761.
761.
So if somebody has the 761, I'm looking for it. I'm not going to pay crazy prices, but I'm looking for it.
Mr. V will help you to find it. He can find pretty much every single mint.
and this is my Todd.
That was signed by Dan Divitt. Wow.
Exactly. And Alex and Reese on the bottom.
That's cool. 11605. You said what's the mint?
This one, I don't have it. I've been looking for it for 2 years now almost.
What is the mint number?
2065.
2065. Let me see what I have.
Our mutual friend Ben from France. That you know,
let's go, Ben.
Has been helping me as well. But the thing is that with those NFTs on GoChain, it seems impossible to know who has them.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
The two Todd I have is 2858 and 1081. So
1081, because I have a second physical Todd that I keep in the box to one day probably resell if it works.
Yeah.
And I think it's 1097, I think. I have to check. I don't remember.
Okay.
Then I have the one I built with my son, the Lego Batman car.
Yeah.
I had to buy a McFarlane comic.
That's the 423 Batman, right?
Yeah, I had to stay with the 8.5. The other ones are a bit too expensive, and in Switzerland we don't really love comic books like American comic books because we didn't grow up with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it, but I didn't buy many comics. I bought another one for my brother because he loves Star Wars. I had to buy this one. And I have the Rizzo.
Nice.
And I have the battle statue.
Yep.
And then I love cars. So those are bronze cars with the matching photograph behind. That was my Maserati. For Maserati, I had to sell it.
So that's the photo of your actual Maserati.
The one I had to sell, yeah.
Wow. I think you have a photo of a Porsche on your
wall here.
No, the other one. That one looks pretty cool too, but you have one in like black and white, I think on the like behind you or something like that.
Oh, I have the James Bond one.
Oh, okay. So it's a James Bond. Okay.
Yeah, and I have those little cars that I like to collect.
Mm-hmm.
And voila, pretty much I have my lightsaber. I have the DeLorean down there.
Yeah.
I have a few posters. This is one of the art I have with the Batman and his son walking in the street.
Man, that's the one.
And I love watches because we live in Switzerland.
Yep.
So I like watches. The one I have here is pretty special. It has pieces from the Titanic.
Wow.
So, they were able to create a little collection a few years ago with metal from the Titanic for the bezel. And in the background, on the dial, you have the ashes of the fireplace where they have to put the coal inside. And you have the edition number on it, etc., etc. So I love crazy things as well.
Wow.
kidding. That's so fun. That sounds so fun. Like it sounds like you have like stories and stories and stories. I can't imagine all the stories that you have of like finding these different collectibles.
Yeah, that's why collectors are collectors, because the hunt is so fun. And then you meet people and it makes it even more fun. So when people say, oh, we're here for the investment and everything, I understand. You can make money. You can lose a lot of money as well. Like with watches, you can lose a lot of money. You can win money. It's just a game that you have to accept to play. And in any kind of collecting and investing strategy, you have to know where you put your fingers in, and don't play with the money you cannot afford to lose. I'm lucky enough that I was able to put quite a lot of gems on the app, but it's gems I'm okay to lose pretty much, because it's like with my car, I had to do a big repair. So I said, okay, let's just imagine I crashed it and I lost all the money. It's okay, now I'm going to put that money on VeVe.
You know, like after you show us your physical collection, I was like, man, this is why this podcast exists. Because when I and Mr. V talked about doing a podcast, it was back in like December 2022. So it's been 6 months now. And every single week we work very hard, and we always keep each other like, you know, keep each other with a discipline. Like let's record this week, let's edit it, let's promote it, let's get it out, let's invite really good guests. And like these moments of you sharing the stories about you and your son, and you with your passion for you know, the cars and Batman, and especially you secretly collecting for your brother, like all of that make the podcast really worth it. Like the amount, the number of hours we put in every week, and the effort that we put in and the time, because Mr. V is busy. I work like 2 jobs now, pretty much.
Yeah.
This is awesome, man.
Yeah. And you know, when I was collecting my basketball cards, I never did it to earn money. I was able to sell some, and I think I didn't really calculate, but I think I was able to recover pretty much what I did put in. So the collection I have now, that I haven't opened in the last 20 years, but I opened it the other day just for fun, cost me probably nothing, but I had so many good moments. I can still remember when I hit that card, or when I did a nice trade or whatever. And all those memories, that's how your brain remembers all those years you've lived. Because if you just live a day, let's say 8 to 5 job that you don't like so much, it's okay, but it's just to eat and pay for the rent, and every day is the same, then it feels like those years, they pass by like lightning, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But if you can create those moments with emotions, it feels like you can stop and freeze time and remember those moments, because your memory works a lot with what your body felt in that moment. So if you feel nothing because you just work from 8 to 5, you go home, you eat, you sleep, you watch a Netflix, and every day the same, your life will go by like this. But if you can have those moments, then I can remember, oh, now I remember when I bought my Todd number 18. Now I remember when I did that. Oh, now with my son, when we read that comic book, and then suddenly it feels like you can almost stop time a little bit, because you can remember more things. It's pretty much the way it works.
Yeah. So what is a collectible? Well, so this is like a question that you can choose. Can you tell us the story behind one of your favorite collectibles? Like, if everything is taken away from you, what is one thing that you absolutely need to keep? Or what is that?
You know that answer already.
Is that a Todd?
It's the Todd, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Those two, the blue Todd, I'll keep it because I have the matching mint,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't really have an emotional connection with this one, but I love it. So
did you have a hard time negotiating for the Todd number 80, or did you just buy it from the market?
No. It was not hard, but the guy knew what he had. So so it took probably 6 months, probably more. I don't exactly remember, but what came into play in this one is that I had to sell something I didn't want to sell to finally buy my Todd. And you have always to put in the balance. The gems are not indefinite. Even if you sell a nice car, at the end there is no more money. So I had to sell my Luke Skywalker 1977 Saber on the app.
Oh, you sold it to Sean from Comics
exactly.
Crypto. Wow.
So I had that one because I sniped it. Well, it was expensive. I didn't pay 20 gems for it, so I paid quite a lot of money, a few $100 at the time, and I wanted to keep that one for a long time because I love Star Wars. I have the Luke Saber here with me. I gave one to my brother as well for his birthday, so there is like a little connection here. And I said, okay, the 1977, this one is really something. Like those special mints for me are like one of one. Yeah. So if you have like the Todd, let's say 1989 or 1939, those ones are really special, I think. Yeah. So they're like one of ones. If you cannot collect artworks on VeVe one of one, if you go to those very, very special mints, they feel like they're one of one. So when I had that blue lightsaber, I thought, okay, this is the one to have on the app. And then I said, oh my God, I need that Todd so much. So I put it at auction. I was able to have quite a lot of gems out of it, even in the bear market. So that's
how much did you pay for it? I know it sold for like 4,000 gems, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Can you imagine that lightsaber sold for 3,800 gems? At least that's what I received. So probably it was 4,000 without the fees. And the floor is like 20.
Yeah.
And it's like 200x. Yeah, it is 200x.
Did you land it on a drop or did you buy it from somebody?
No, I had to buy it for like 500, I think I paid.
Wow, what a deal. Because one of our previous interview guests, Robert, his username is Hush Show. He came third in that auction.
Yeah, I saw the interview and I said, oh, I'm sorry. I had to take the best deal possible.
Yeah.
The Todd 80 was so expensive that even with that money, I was not able to buy it. So I had to negotiate for 6 months. And at the end,
wow,
I think I was not too far away from the lightsaber money I got to buy the Todd.
You might so you know the Batman comic is number 423, right? I managed to snipe the blue Todd number 423.
That's nice.
And unfortunately, like, because I realized I wasn't able to finish some sets for the Batman collectibles, because I know that, for example, Silicon Secure, he has the number 1234 Todd. And I know the other person who has the 423 Todd, the FA, right? So like all these people who are like very firm in their ways and they don't want to let those pieces go because they know the implications, like how big these characters are and how important mints are, they're not willing to let those go. So I decided to kind of sell that one, the 423 Todd, the blue one, the non-FA one, to be able to move into things that I thought were.
And were you happy with the sell?
It didn't bother me as much. And like today, like I don't have a single DC comic collectible just because of the interactions I've had with the owners of the pieces that I wanted. And like some people were just asking for outrageous prices. And it led me to believe that, if I'm going to collect something that I really like, I want to make sure that I have those opportunities too.
Yeah.
So I think it's fantastic that you found those opportunities and you took advantage of them.
Yeah, but it took like hours and hours. It's not like if you spend an hour a month that you're going to have those opportunities. You have to create your own luck, as we say. Huh?
Absolutely.
So by spending time on the market, and And Sean was not lucky because he told me that he probably spent every day looking for that lightsaber. And the day he didn't look, I was there. So voila, that's life. But I had some other stories that I'm not probably very proud of. But I'm usually not proud of the stories where I bought something that I didn't like just to try to sell it or to keep it long term, maybe to find somebody to buy it. And that's, I would say, the mistakes I made on VeVe. It's like when you buy something you like, you will never regret it. And I talked to it with Ben and some other guys on Twitter. If you buy something you like, even if you paid a bit too much, even if you have to keep it for years and years, you'll be happy to have it. Even if you lost 99% of the value on it, you'll be happy with it. So you will not be happy if you bought a collectible that you said, oh, this one I'm going to flip in 2 years because the Disney fan will come or the Star Wars fan will come or whoever will come. And at the end, 6 months later, you don't have gems anymore and you have that collectible with you and you say, oh, I want to buy something else. And then you have to sell that collectible like
at a loss,
with a big loss, and then you're not happy about yourself.
Yeah, I experienced, like I just checked maybe in the past couple of days. From what I've put into the app, I'm down maybe 85% of the vault value. But I love everything that I have.
Yeah,
I love it.
I have no idea how much money I've put into VeVe. No idea.
I don't either.
Sometimes it's a good thing.
I just know that if the floors double from now, just double, I'm okay. Because I did DCA all the way down. So now I have bought things where the floors have almost doubled since I bought them. So like the Joe, the Becky, those guys, they were like probably not half, but probably like 50% cheaper a few weeks ago. And I did buy still. So I do stack a few things to try to pay for my collection. I don't do it really to become a millionaire or a billionaire, or whatever you want to be, because we don't need to be millionaires and billionaires to be happy. So I just do it. I do stack a few things because I think it's the right way to do it if I want to sustain my collection.
I just saw Mr. 41 getting his 100th mint 41. Like he paid 5,000 gems for the Hulk FA 41.
Wow.
Insane.
Wow.
Crazy.
Those guys are really at another level, huh? There are two people now, at least I know, that are crazy whales of 41s, huh? And that's gonna be a big battle, huh?
Do you who is the second guy who's into 41?
He's on the, let me check, I don't remember.
Rolex.
No. Yeah, Rolex probably, but there is a bigger guy recently.
Oh, Nick, Niddle.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That guy. Yeah, so
that's a battle.
They're really crazy about this. I never played that game because one, it's too expensive, and I don't know what happened if they really released those sub 41s. So I don't know. So I prefer to be between 42 and 99.
That's cool, man.
It's a cheaper way to do it. Like the other day, I found Thor FA rare min 66 for 79 gems. So I said, okay, this one is okay.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
That is super cheap for like a double digit.
Yeah, and people don't like Thor, but I can't. Yeah, he is not the best looking collectible, but he's still Thor FA. I'm from the Nordic countries, so I said the common is really ugly. So I don't think I have any. Maybe I have one or two. I don't remember. But I bought quite a stack of the uncommon because I like the paws. The eyes are normal and he's not smiling, so we cannot see his ugly teeth. So, and he has less editions than the common, and he's cheaper than the common. So I said, oh my God, this is the way to go. So I bought quite a lot of those ones, very, very cheap, like $5, $6, $7, and now they're around $9. So I said, okay, that was a pretty good move. And probably in the future, when the Marvel fan, if VeVe succeeds, the Marvel fan come on VeVe, it's going to be much easier for them to buy their first collectible for 20 gems than to buy a Todd at 2K, whatever the price will be at that time. That's how I tried to put myself in the shoes I were 2 years ago when I started. And I had money. I was into crypto. I understood, but I didn't understood NFTs and VeVe and the edition numbers and everything like that. So I said, let's buy the cheapest one to start. And that's, I think, how the masses will react in the future if it works.
Yeah, so that's why David wanted to make the most popular characters, or like he wanted to make that common rarity the most popular.
Yeah. So right now, if you buy like let's say 10 Thors or 10 Daredevil or whatever FA you find that is not too expensive, Thor is really cheap, so that's why I like Thor. But there are some other ones, and you pay like 10 gems for them, and you want to sell them maybe 30 gems in 2 years. There are not a lot of investments where you can triple your money in 2 years with I would say, low risk, because you didn't invest too much money. So that's what I've been doing a little bit to pay for my collection. I stack the ones that I believe in. So let's say the season ones. I like black and white, so voila, that's my thing. And the fees are cheap, so that's good. The FAs are of the good characters that are not too expensive. So the ones that were bidding up the most, like Thor is like 5 times under retail. So he said, okay, that one is pretty cheap. So yeah, that's what I've been doing a little bit in the last few months. That's the part that I'm okay to sell to pay for the rest.
How do you determine which collectibles will bring you that return on investment, and then for you to sell them to, fund your fund the other collectibles that you actually want to collect?
Yeah, so as I said, I'm pretty sure season 1 will be still something to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least as a VeVe fan, probably you will want a piece from the season 1 in 10 years, just to say, I understand, or I was there, or whatever you want to. Maybe you want to show people that you understand like if you could buy today the first iPhone, that would be pretty expensive, and you could, and maybe it has an emotional connection as well, whatever. So season 1 would be probably a safer bet, and then the main characters that are not too expensive would be a good bet as well. Try to stay, I would say, FA, first appearance, if you can. And at the end, buy what you like. I would say buy what you like for you to keep, and buy those other ones to invest, or at least to pay for your collection in the future. And do that by DCAing. That's what I've been doing in the last year. So I bought all the way down, and now I'm still slowly buying. But now I'm a little bit more, I have enough collectibles and comics that I don't need to stack more. But now I'm a bit more selective with the mints for my collection, because I did stack quite a lot of the season 1 of Batman. So those ones that were not too expensive, and still, again, I put myself in in those shoes like 2 years ago, when I couldn't afford a Todd at 3,000 gems. At that time, I said, okay, why not buy this one? This Batman is nice from the season 1, and this one is only 100 or whatever the price was. And at that time, I was happy. I felt like I was part of the VeVe fam. I was not a Todd owner, but I was part of the VeVe fam, and it was not too expensive. So I'm pretty sure people will react some way similar to what I just described. If they cannot afford the wall statue, they might buy the whatever other collectible they like.
Yeah. So you've been with the app for over 2 years now. What are a few things that VeVe can do better? I know that you live in Europe, and so the waitlist system have allow you to have a higher probability of landing a drop. Like you did land a drop today with the Hulk Comic One. What are some of the things that the app can do now or in the future to improve that experience for you?
I don't know really, because it's such probably difficult for them to manage everything. Everything they're doing is pretty new. So I'm not in that field. I'm not good enough to give them any advice. But for me as a collector, what they could maybe do a little bit better for my experience in the app. For example, now I start to have quite a lot of special mints. And every time I want to show a friend or I want to show on Twitter something, it's quite a mess to try to find them, to put them together. So if they were able to say, okay, now I can show my whole collection, let's put all the 1981. I want to see only the 1981 to see how many I have. Can I take maybe a picture of them and show them quickly? So that would be amazing if we can sort our collection by mints.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible for the moment. That would be awesome. For me, it will help me a lot to see what I'm still missing, what I need. When you start to have a lot of collectibles, I would say that probably half of my collection, I don't even remember what I have. So
you have over 1,000. Yeah, that is a great problem to have.
Yeah, no, it's funny because sometimes I open and I say, oh, I would like to have this one. And I go and say, oh, I already have it. So I cannot even imagine Dr. Profit and those guys that have like more than 10,000 collectibles. It's impossible to follow what's going on. So that would be amazing if they could find a way just to say, okay, I want to see all my sub 100s or whatever it is. So that would be awesome. They did a thing a few months ago when we were searching in the market for comics where all the rarities were together. So you could put, I want 1981, and you did not need to go to each rarity to find it.
I had that exact problem this morning because I was looking for Mr. Vismint and I was looking for the 1962, the FA of Thor. So I was like, I kept switching between the rarities and then typing in the mint. And even do it on my web app too. Like it takes forever.
Yeah, I don't know why they went backwards. They did it. Was awesome.
They actually did it, right?
Yeah, they did it for 2-3 weeks. It was awesome. That's when I found most of my my comics. Even the ones I didn't really like, but they were like maybe 5 or 10 gems. I said, okay, let's buy those ones. I want to increase my collection. I would never have found those ones.
Wow, that's a great idea.
If they hadn't done this. And then they went back to the old system. Maybe there is a reason, I don't know, but that was really good for the collectors.
Yeah.
And I think I wrote something that I wanted to talk about. Let me just read my little note here. Oh yeah, and in your profile where you can show your collectibles.
Yep.
I discovered that there is a limit of digital collectibles you can show, because after a while I could not put new ones and I had to delete old ones. So I have more sub 100 than what you see.
Do you know how many sub 100s you have?
No idea.
Man, that's a great answer.
But I know that I have probably a bit more, maybe 20% more, something like that, because I have. If you look at my profile, there is nothing on Disney, nothing on Pixar, I think. There is only DC, Marvel, and Star Wars, because I had to choose. But I have the T-Rexes, sub 100, and sequential mints. So I think I have like the 79, 80, 81, and 82 of the T-Rexes. And I have the same thing for some Disney posters, and I have other ones that I would be happy to show, but I cannot because it's limited. So if VeVe can increase the amount of collectibles we can show, that would be awesome. And if they could do it for comics, to show in your profile the comics as well. Because now I start to have quite a large collection of 1985, 1981s, and 2016 for my son. So it's growing, and I would like to show it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tricky, right? When you're trying to curate what you've managed to put together, right? And something that I've found myself doing a lot of times is I try and tell a story with my collectibles in the profile, where, so for example, with Daredevil, there was, in the more recent show on Disney Plus, there was something going on with She-Hulk. So I try and put She-Hulk and Daredevil next to each other. Or in the original storyline with Marvel, Black Panther married Storm from X-Men. So I try and put those two to get next to each other and things like that. And
that's awesome.
And
no, it's a story you're telling. So everybody has its own. I try to pull the mints together to try to create some kind of logic. You have your logic. Everybody has their feelings. So that's what is awesome with collecting, because what you collect, it's not what I would like to collect, and what I collect, it's not really what you would like to collect. So it's just the way we feel, and we can express ourselves. And for real collectors, the day they will understand that digital collecting is at least as awesome as physical collecting, it's going to be a game changer, huh? Because for the moment, I think they're scared. At least for comics, they're scared. For physical ones like that, like the Batmans, I don't think they really care, because they're not worth a lot of money in real life. But for comics, I think they're scared, so they don't want to jump into it because they're scared that their investment will go to zero if they jump into this one. So this I can understand, but that's not how it went for me, at least, because I've never bought a single comic book in my life before VeVe. Never. And now I have like 3. I was in Zurich a month ago, and we had the biggest pop culture show in Zurich. And I went with my son. I would never have gone there before VeVe. So I went there and I bought a comic book just to remember. Let me show you. I'm not really a fan of it, but it was one of the cheapest ones. So I said, okay, this one I can afford. So it's the
Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the cheapest. It's not graded. But I said, let's take something to remember that moment, you know? I would never have bought this one 2 years ago. Never.
Oh, yeah.
And now I bought it. So somebody made money on this one. And maybe he's going to buy something else. Same thing for the Star Wars comic and the Todd comic. So they should not be too scared. There are Swiss people now buying comic books. Don't be scared.
Wow. That's really cool. And then so now you have all of your collectibles and comics. You are even investing some of that to your son with the 2016 mint comic books. How do you envision VeVe in the future? What is it going to be like for you?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I'll be happy if it stays like it is. I enjoy it enough. If just bring me more and I'll take it. I don't know. I don't know how VeVeverse will really work. It's like with the new Apple Vision that is coming. That's probably going to be as well a game changer. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just enjoying the ride because I'm happy with how it is now, and we are only like 2.5 years into something that is completely new. Like when we were 2.5 years into iPhones, it was very different than what it is now.
Yeah.
So let's see where we are in 10 years. I don't know. I'm not expecting anything because that's the best way to be sad if it doesn't realize. So I'm just enjoying the ride. I hope VeVe will do more in real life events And maybe that's something I thought about preparing for this interview. They don't even need to create big shows like they do with Marvel and things like that. They could maybe just use the VeVe fam to create micro events, like 10, 20, 30 person together anywhere on the planet. And maybe if you have some expenses because you need to rent a bar or a restaurant or whatever, maybe they could pay a part of the fees and you just send the bill to them and you say, oh, we had a VeVe event. Here are the pictures. We met this person, this person. The fees for the whole evening were maybe $500. Can you maybe pay $250 and we're square? I don't know. That would be so easy to do and not expensive. You don't need David and Dan and the whole team to be there all the time, because what you do, you guys for free now, doing interviews, not being paid, maybe paid a little bit by YouTube. I don't know how it works, but maybe no, you do it.
Maybe like $10 a month.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't do it for money. You do it for the experience, the fun. Maybe in the future, be part of something more with VeVe. I don't know why you do it. You can maybe tell me why you do it. But the thing is that I tried the other day to create a micro event in Switzerland. And as we are in a bear market and we don't have so many active users, it was almost impossible to have more than 5 people. But let's say that maybe in a year or 2 from now, we have a better situation. It would be awesome. I would organize a little party in Switzerland for 10, 20 person. And I don't want to pay everything from my pocket, but maybe VeVe can send me a logo and not a logo card, just something to have and to put on the table. And maybe then I'll send the bill, the final bill, and they pay a little bit of it, just to say, okay, we like what you do. You're promoting the company. You're creating collectors. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Miss V, were you going to say something?
Over time, it's taken me I've been putting out some feelers with other collectors to see, like, if I know, I don't necessarily disclose where I live, right? But maybe over time I will. But I've tried to get a feel for who is in my area, maybe like within 2 hours or so. And, I've started a couple of conversations with them, and it's it's people like in our age range, in like the late 20s, 30s, 40s, with families, and it's kind of tricky for now.
It's tricky because we are in a bear market as well.
Yeah.
So give it time, and if everybody is happy with their vaults, and then you bring again those friends that you tried to convert to VeVe 2 years ago and now they hate you, those ones will maybe come back. And then suddenly the 3-4 people you thought you had, they will bring 3 more each. And then suddenly you're 20 and you can have a nice evening and party and go out a little bit of your comfort zone and leave the kids at home for once and just do one little party with friends and collectors that think the same way you do. And you can have conversation that you could not have normally in your everyday life. So yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'll be honest here. The VeVeverse, it's in the way. It's at the very, very bottom of my list of things I'm thinking about. I'm more interested about like the in real life things that we can do.
Sure. Because I think we're still too far away to have a very nice experience with virtual reality, like a real nice, almost like real life event, but in the virtual world. I think we're like probably 10 years away from that. So augmented reality will be nice. So you can bring your friend home, show them with your Apple glasses, you're home with all your collectibles. That would be awesome. That would be probably an event that you can do at home and things like that. But for now, at least us, we were born in the 80s, the 90s, maybe even the 2000s. we're a little bit too old to be like really, really connected to virtual technology.
Yeah.
I still prefer in real life meetings. If I could meet you tomorrow in Switzerland, that would be awesome. We live too far apart, so that would not be possible right now. So I would prefer to see you in the bar today than to have that discussion on my computer. But at least we can do it. And before VeVe, we would never have done it. So I'm happy to meet you guys for the first time.
Yeah. Erik, it's been a great time. Like I was mentioning to Mr. V during the breaks, that this is probably one of the easiest interviewing experience, and easy in a very good way, because you have so many stories. I don't even have to look at my question list anymore, because your stories between you and your brother, you and your son, and you and, like collecting digitally for the first time, it's just amazing. And, like talking to you and other folks and learning about your stories and experience and insight. That's why we do these interviews. That's why we, sit down usually we record every Thursday evening. So from 9 p.m. to like midnight, that's me and Miss V's time. We would record, we'd talk about things, even
That's
after
a lot of
recording.
commitment.
Yeah. And then like editing too, sometimes I would stay up until like 1 a.m. Miss V would try to, work his schedule so that he can come into the interview and things like that. And even after the recording, that's when we like talk about each other. That's when he like vent about his frustration, or he misses men and he want to swear, but
So
he cannot do it.
How did it start? So how did it start, you two? How did it start? How did you meet, pretty much?
So we are all in the army group, right? And I only have, again, 40 collectibles, 40 comics. I'm not in any special mint group, anything like that. But I want to create content, VeVe content, because I believe so much into this platform. And Mr. V was one of my early guests. And he's mint hunting all day. It's like you and Ben and Mr. 41 and other folks. So he has so many stories. So and then Mr. V, I think you came up with the podcast idea first, right?
Yeah, I threw out the idea, and I was asking some OGs in the community what they would think if I was to do a podcast, because I wanted to take it a little bit in a different direction from what everyone else was doing. Like, I won't go into too many details, but I did want to start a podcast just because I felt like that was an area where there wasn't much content, and I like listening to podcasts. And then I think Will, you can take it from here.
Yeah, and then I have experience with interviewing people, with growing a channel, whether it's YouTube or podcast or whatever, or like creating content. I don't know anything about collecting. I don't mint hunt. I don't negotiate. I don't argue with people. He does all of that. And that's really cool, because the other channels, I like them a lot too. And I respect the content. But what they don't have is these kind of stories. It's like you selling your Lightsaber 1977 to buy your Todd Mint 80, or Mr. V's selling something to complete a set. Those stories don't exist anywhere else. Or they do exist, but in very small segments. Yeah. And I think collecting is all about those stories. So I told him, hey, if you have those stories, write them down. And he has a lot of them every single day. If we were to, just forget about them, that would be a waste of really good content. Just write them down, remember them, and let's work together on a podcast so we can record all of that and have this and grow together. Like he grows a lot with his collection. Yeah. I told him, just keep doing your thing. I can grow this channel. And then we started.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Would you like to work with VeVe? Would you like to have your own channel? Would you like to?
Yeah, I think I will. I never want to work with VeVe, because when you work with VeVe, you are under like an NDA, like you cannot talk about VeVe, right? You have to follow a script, right? Mm-hmm. I want to say whatever I want to say. And in 5 years, I don't know about Mr. V, but I feel like that's a lot of opportunities for us to build something, maybe like a business. Maybe we talk to you guys, we know all the specimen collectors, we bring people together, or like to have like an exhibition or something like that, or like a showroom where people can bring their specimen. They can talk about it. You guys can come in and talk about it, or like a media company or something like that, where we go and talk about collectibles and just different things. I haven't figured it out, but I know that building this network, building the connections, and getting something up and running is important for me to do whatever I want to do in the future. But that's just
a little bit like a TV show about cars. You want to know everything about it, and then like we had Top Gear or things like that. You're 2 or 3 guys or girls, whatever, and you interview people. You go and visit their showrooms.
Exactly.
And you hear the stories, and you could even have some utility or things like that going on.
Yeah, I mean, like what I want to do, for example, is I know you have some Star Wars collectibles. I want to bring, and I know we all have some previous guests who are into Star Wars collectibles, like Robert and Mr. 41 and other folks, and Michael too. We may be able to have like a gallery and bring you guys all together and have like a Star Wars event, and then we can have sponsors or something like that. You guys will have a great time talking about your collectibles, maybe do some trades, because you know each other through me or something like that, or through us, for example. You have a space to discuss things. Other folks come in, can just enjoy these collectibles. I think there's a lot of potentials in this space. We're just building the groundwork for now.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, at least you enjoy the ride.
Yeah. And then what's funny is we were thinking about names, and initially I had the name the VeVe Guys Podcast, and I'm so glad we didn't go with that. Mr. V came up with VeVe Vantage, and I think that was one of the best decisions that we made early on.
Good.
Yeah.
How you doing? You're doing great. So that's why I was okay to come on your show as well and show my face a little bit more. Because it feels like you're good guys. We can trust you, and I saw your other interviews; they were good, and it's
also like something else is this VeVe journey can be a pretty lonely journey, especially if your friends don't believe in VeVe or things like that. When I talk to Mr. V, it's like 2 friends getting together and just talk collectibles. And I don't have anything to pump. He doesn't have anything to pump. We intentionally never mention his favorite mint, simply because we don't want other people to steal his mint and list them for crazy amount. It's just like 2 friends, talking VeVe.
Yeah, I'm okay to tell my mints because I've seen it goes both ways. Now I have friends on VeVe and on Twitter, and they could snipe things for me, and they could maybe see something I didn't see. Like Mr. V almost got my 1985 today for a reasonable price. He didn't know I really wanted it, so I had to pay a premium, but that was okay. I had planned to put like that kind of money into it. So it goes both ways. Sometimes you discover that the guy or the girl is not nice with you, but in a lot of cases, you have good guys or good girls as well helping you find your mints for a very minimal premium, or sometimes no premium and just the fees. So we know who they are on VeVe, and we like them. And we say hello to them. and voila.
Yeah. So Erik, thank you so much for spending the time with us, and we would love to have you on again in the future, maybe to talk about your growing collections, those kind of things.
Yeah, and in a bull run will be more fun.
Yeah.
If it comes. But even if it doesn't come, maybe at that time, if we talk to each other in 6 months or 12 months, we'll have some VR glasses, and maybe the experience will be different.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Have a great weekend, guys, and yeah, we'll see you again. That is it, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed the episode today. And if you have, remember that gentleman agreement. We will continue working until 1 a.m. just for you. But in return, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss out on the actionable and valuable insights, everything VeVe and Omi related. Don't forget to give us a rating and tweet at us. So let us know what you think about the podcast so that we can refine the content better just for you. Thank you so much. We hope to see you again next time. Peace.